You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
That's the people who are successful. The ones who have no one to sleep, no one to wake up, and they can stick to that schedule.
Or do they not sleep at all? Do you think Steve Jobs was a good sleeper?
Huh, good question. I don't know.
I don't know anything about the man other than, what he's done. His personal stuff.
Yeah, you're right. Very little. I know.
Was he one of those kind of guys?
Like, doesn't Elon Musk say he doesn't have to sleep? And, he gets very little sleep. Donald Trump, not that he's, I guess he's, as a business person, he used to be successful, but he was infamous for saying he only slept for a few hours. Albert Einstein apparently only slept for like 4 hours a month. Like, so I don't know if there's something to be said about it. Like, it's making use of all that available time that you have.
Yes. But I guess if some people are more hardwired to have to have less sleep.
Yeah, fair enough.
And like, you got to figure that's a pretty, that fucking Albert Einstein brain is doing some heavy lifting, right? He needs to sleep.
He needs to rest.
Exactly.
Wow, how does he not?
You'd think he would sleep for 12 hours a day.
If he could, right?
Yeah, the way that brain
some
works.
People are big advocates of sleep. And they're like, you should sleep 8 hours, 9 hours. What's that one woman? And she was like, I forgot what her name is. But she Huffington.
Ariana Huffington.
Yes. She was a big advocate. She had a book on why you should be sleeping and the art of sleep. And she was I remember when she came to speak here in Waterloo, and her whole thing was, and I remember her whole thing was, how it's important to sleep. And she makes sure she so I don't know. If I get too much sleep, I'm like a slug.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah. I remember the days where you were like a teenager or whatever, and you'd sleep for 14 hours, and you just like, you feel like crap the next day. And it's like, I've never slept in.
Yep.
Since then, but
yeah. Little nuts.
Well, here. Salute. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to the mother umping whiskeys.
So,
yes,
we have something big to cheer about.
Yes.
As you know, and as the Angry Designers will soon know, huge. Ready?
Yeah.
So, and this is just cool because, this is, I think, every entrepreneur's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And but it doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
But zfactor has been acquired.
Oh,
boom! And it still feels surreal.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're
in the big leagues now.
Wow, right? Like, how the hell does that happen? Again, because we're a service-based. Well, it happens. I know how it happens. It's been years of trying and this and that and growing and building processes and then becoming specialists or finding a niche, becoming specialists. Build a product, stay sticky, and then just work your asses off. And and it's crazy because we did it our way.
Yep.
Right. We weren't, we weren't trying to be something we're not. We weren't trying to be fancy.
Yep.
We weren't trying to be eloquent and proper.
Pretentious.
Like we are. Okay. Yeah. Pretentious. Right. We weren't trying to be an agency. Yeah. We were an agency of creatives.
Yep.
We were quirky. We're misfits. We've always been the fucking underdog.
Yes.
Always.
Right.
And embrace that mentality. And look what it's fucking done for us.
Yes.
I'm proud to say that, our second largest customer, has huge growth plans, and they have acquired us because of the team, because of the expertise that we have, and the subject matter expertise, and because some of the cool ass software that we built to be sticky with some of our other customers, to make it hard for them to be able to drop us on a dime because they're so reliant on what we've done. Yeah. And, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
how does that feel? How does that feel for you?
It's surreal.
Yeah.
Because again, this was it's hard to even believe I've been doing this, for a living. Because half the time it feels fun coming in, hanging out, working. We got skateboards on the walls. We've got we got comic book art everywhere, right? We go to Fan Expo as trips, and we got toys hanging. Like, it's just. it's hard to believe that, you know, like
Nerf guns.
You know, dude, honestly, it's like validation that I just never believed that we had.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not imposter syndrome because I know we knew our shit, but it was just like, wow, I knew we knew it. But based on always being the underdog, I never thought anybody else saw it, respected it, did that.
Yes. And the best part of this too is it's almost kind of it's kind of a bittersweet, not bittersweet, but our major client, we love them. We love them to death, but we always feel kind of overlooked with them.
A little bit.
You know,
a little bit.
And for these guys to come in under us, and they're going to be bigger than these other guys.
Yes, they are, because they're on their way to be $1 billion
They're
brand.
ramping huge.
They're crazy, the growth.
Yes.
I mean, there's 600 plus people right now and growing.
And it's a 7-year company. It's been around for 7 years.
Yes, 7, and then most of the growth has happened in the past 3.
Yes,
right?
It's crazy.
Just want to say is when they started up with us is when the most growth happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding. I can't say it wasn't us. But
yeah, you're right. That's so true.
But it has been since we've been in their circle.
Yeah,
we've been part of this whole experience.
Yeah.
You know, and here at the beginning we were like, this was one of those cases, and I remember it was like, you always hear customers being like, well, I don't have money right now. Can you go easy, this, that? And I remember her haggling with me, Art, who is now my boss.
Now your boss, yeah.
Right? And I remember her saying, you know what, Massimo, I do me this favor, help me get this, bring your price down to this. And I promise I'm going to make it worth your while. I'm going to be your number one customer. We're going to have a long, successful future together. And I looked at her and I was like, you know what? I've heard that 1,000 times before, but when you say it,
something about it,
I believe it.
Right.
And it's true.
Yes.
The company is just full of amazing people. The company, they have an incredible mission. Their whole mission is to make sure everybody in North America has high-speed internet access. It's hard to believe that there are tens of millions of people in the U.S. without access to reliable high-speed internet.
That's crazy.
It's like life. This is so their mission is to close the digital divide.
Yep.
And it was just like, holy shit, like, this is a cause that we can get behind.
This is a beautiful thing.
And they got us because we're such subject matter experts. Plus, they love the team. They love how how we're resilient, how hardworking. The cultures are similar, but also the platform that we built.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just for continued growth. As they keep growing, they're going to need us to kind of keep up with them and help grow them. And it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I can't wait to dig into this brand because in all fairness, we have been working so hard to help their customers succeed that, we've done very little for their brand. And honestly, dude, I'm just excited because their brand is now ready to be overhauled and to get to that next level. So I'm really excited about this.
It's
so
great.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Nuts, right? And just as proof that you can do it your own way. And I think that's crazy.
Yes.
And it's funny because I think back now to when we started, and it was just like, it was one of those garage stories, right? And it was like, Disney, Apple, Harley Davidson, Google, Mattel, Hewlett Packard, Amazon. These are all examples of companies that were started by technicians, people who actually worked at the core of the business, right?
Yep.
And had very, very little business acumen. Okay. And they managed to take their companies. Okay, well, we haven't taken it to the same level as like Jeff Bezos has, but in retrospect, they were all started by people who, were experts at what they did, not necessarily business experts. And it was, it's just cool.
Yes, this is the kind of people that they have this vision. You know what I mean? Like, they know exactly what they're going to do.
Yep.
They have the plan. It's just they're laser focused on this, and that's all there is to it. And somehow, just elbow grease. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's luck. What the hell it happens. But
it's
they
perseverance.
Make it. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's this whole act of just whatever it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I didn't know everything starting.
Yeah.
And I mean, this whole fake it till you make it. I hate how it sounds, but I understand, now all said and done, look what it really means. And it's just, it's a matter of just, doing what you have to do to take your company to that next level. In no way is this like screwing anybody over. No way is this lying, right? I always knew the kind of agency I wanted, right? I mean, I have some friends and they have agencies that just focus on small local customers. They have small little restaurants and boutiques and they like their, I'm going to be, in our region and I want to own this. Hey, good.
Yeah, it's cool.
Never wanted
Whatever
that.
floats your boat, right?
I always wanted these giant
Massive
companies, right? I always wanted billion-dollar brands, right? And that was, that was what I was always after, right? To think that it was like I was able to, work with these companies. I had these companies, right? And it was really cool because I guess you can say, no, dude, you know what? Even at the B2B stage, there was big manufacturers that we used to deal with.
Yep.
And when we went to the tech side, our first big, giant billion-dollar brand tech-wise was BlackBerry. Right? And again, here it was this tiny little shop, right? But we never positioned ourselves as a tiny little shop, right?
That's the key.
That's that whole fake it till you make it thing, right? It's, we never positioned her because...
Right.
All small companies go through this thing, startup stigma, right? Where it's like, it's this, although it's totally, not right, people will assume that just because you're a startup or you're small, you're inexperienced.
You're rinky dink.
You don't have the team.
Yes.
And again, that was really, really prevalent when we started zfactor.
Yep.
Now maybe a little easier, maybe just a tad bit easier because there's so many subject matter experts, to how you want to grow. But, people are wrong in that sense, right? But they're just assuming that, if they'll make judgments on what you're capable of doing just solely based on your size, right? And how long you've been in business, right? To me, it's the opposite. It's like the smaller you are and the less experience you have, the more hungrier you are, especially if you have a very clear vision, right? But I remember doing a whole bunch of shit to try to make myself look bigger.
Yeah, and this is what you do, and I think we've talked about this before. This is pretty common in our industry. I think
so. Well, I think so, and I'm not because then unless it's just maybe people have different ways of how they want to pitch themselves, right? Again, I always knew I was going to be a bigger company. I never planned on being a 1, 2, 3 person shop. Not that we're 100-person shop by any means.
No.
We were on our way, of course, and well, heck, now we're part of a 600+ person organization.
Yes,
right. So, on a good note, zfactor will remain zfactor.
Yes.
Even through this acquisition, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change with our clients. We can now, except I think finally we might actually fire a customer that we might actually want. And now it's like, our hands are tied. I'm sorry, we can't do this.
Yeah, this is down from above.
But, zfactor is still going to operate as zfactor. We're still, keeping our clients. It's just that now we have the backing of a very, big brother to finally pursue the bigger jobs, the bigger opportunities, right? And, unfortunately, it's always like you need money in order to take these big steps. And you need, in order to get these big steps, you need money. So it's like now we have the backing to make this happen with a company that is literally just going to make us laser focused at what we do. And we'll, take everything else off our plates so we can just do what we do well. So
and really excel at that.
Oh, it's really fun. And honestly, you want to talk about niching? I want to niche even more now because of this. So it's like, a huge mistake on companies to underestimate, hungry entrepreneurs, especially at the beginning. But it's that whole idea that it's hard to be a big business if you don't have the right customers, but it's hard to get the right customers if you're not a big business. So unfortunately, what we would do is I did a whole bunch of shit that made ourselves look bigger. And again, I never lied because I was always trying to, I knew where I was going to be. Right. So it was just a matter of time. It was was I lipping off faster than I could get there? Right. But I made sure I never actually outright lied because then I couldn't get caught in something. And man, let me tell you, I think I did that once early on. And I got caught and I talked my way out of it, but I remember like living with this nut in my stomach thinking that was just wrong. And I didn't want to ever do that again, right? So I was very careful with how I phrased things, what I did, and how I presented myself, right? So so I guess today, the whole thing that we're going to do today is we're going to talk about all the shit that, I would do over the years, and unfortunately it was as ridiculous as, when I grew facial hair to look older when we started, which is incredible. Because I believe it or not, this giant beard was not always here, and it used to be clean shaven at one point, and that was kind of the start. A facial hair was just trying to like look a little older.
This is the thing. You go in, you walk into somebody's office, this fresh-faced 23-year-old kid is like, "Hey, I want to take care of all your marketing needs.
I can take all of your business."
Get out of here, kid.
So that was the one I wish I didn't do. And also the dressing up thing. Man, I hated doing that.
See,
I hated that.
But that's not you. And it takes a little while to discover that, I think, too, right?
But, those are the ones, those two in particular, I was not very proud of because that was trying to change me and who I was. So those I would never recommend to everybody else. But what I have done is I made a giant list of everything that I did and I would recommend moving forward on how to make yourself look bigger than you already are. Right. And again, let me preface this by saying you don't have to be bigger. You don't have to look bigger. Some companies want to be small and cute and compact. And there's something to be said about that. But for me personally, I always wanted to get bigger clients, get bigger jobs. And in all fairness, since we started, I never charged freelance rates, even when there was only 3 of us, right? I never charged freelance rates because in my mind, we were always a big company, right? We always positioned ourselves as a big company. So the big benefit to, giving this impression, of course, is that your billables are higher right out of the gate, and you're getting the opportunity to bid on bigger projects. You're taking a little bit more seriously, right? This is the shit that, that we brought to the table, right? And it worked for us. And so if 1 or 2 of these things can actually work for you, boom,
this is good. Yeah, never sell yourself short, right?
Yeah, right.
This is the kind of thing.
We're capable. We're all capable
this is exactly
of the same work.
This is exactly it. It's how much work do you want to put into it?
Yeah,
right?
fair enough, right? Yeah. And again, I put a hell of a lot of work.
You did.
Always making us seem bigger. People didn't know if we were 5 people, 10 people, 50 people.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember, when we were like 5 or 6 people and they were like, wow, you're only 5 people. Right? You're only, I thought you were so much bigger. And I was like, check.
Yes.
They did that, exactly at the end, they did that. And afterwards they didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't care.
They were like, hey, no problem. You're getting the shit done. I don't care.
Yep.
Good for you. Now let's get back to work. Right. But had they found out earlier on, they maybe wouldn't have given us the same chances.
Maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, it's a risk you'll have to take.
Well, I guess, right? All right. Okay. So
this is good. This is going to be a good one. I like this. I love this.
All right. So number 1, when it came to presenting myself, I was a big advocate of business cards.
Business cards.
I
love the business cards.
I still have them.
Yeah.
Right. But one thing that, I hated was when people would give me a flimsy business card. It was such a big pet. Oh, dude. Because a flimsy business card was equivalent to me as like one of those, wet, soft handshakes. It's just like, what is that? No, I always made sure I had good quality, mega thick, heavy business cards.
Oh my God,
yes. They're fucking weapons.
Yeah, they are. Right? They're like throwing stars.
Yeah, seriously, right? Like none of this like print jobby shit at home. Yes. And the problem is it's like, when you'd go online and you'd order them cheap and you wouldn't think anything of it, like they're forgettable.
Yeah.
Right? I would never walk around with anything. Me personally, I was always at an 18, 20, 22 point thick cardstock. Yeah. Insane thick. Then, Moo came up with those double pressed cards. And that was when I had those like weapons. But even prior to Moo, right, I would go out of my way to find the right paper and find the thickest possible stock that would realistically still print and be good. So that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Those cards stood out and that made a difference. And right out the bat, people are like, wow.
Yeah.
If they're willing to spend on business cards, they must know their shit, right?
Exactly.
But it is crazy how much of an impression it still makes. Now, I don't know if people are still using that, but that was something I used to do. Okay.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I often wondered why the business cards were so thick, but that totally makes sense. If you're gonna plop something down and it's got some girth and it's got some thickness.
Yep.
Even if you go to some sort of trade show or something like that, where you've got like a fistful of cards, your card's going to stand out because it's fucking thick as hell.
Thick and hell, and it was just and people and they keep them because they're so unique, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I remember over the years trying unique business cards. This, that, to me, business cards were conversation starters. We would go out of our way to create unique business cards for customers, and they would constantly come back and be like, you know what? That crazy ass design that you would do with the, with the custom custom die with the hole all the way through and this and that with our product. It has gotten us so much business because it was a conversation starter.
Yes.
It was huge. It was huge for us. But again, I don't know if you guys still do that anymore.
Yeah,
So
it's funny. It's funny whether that's a thing.
if you're local and networking, I'm assuming it still would be.
It's still a thing, yeah.
Right? It still would be because even at a networking event, what are you going to? You're not going to pull out your phone and be like, "Here, tell me your text." And,
good point,
right.
good point.
However, if your clients are all online or outside of then chances are no, not so much. Needless to say, it worked for me. Not right now, okay?
Yeah.
But in the same token, have a really, really good email signature, right? People. They neglect this space in the bottom of an email. And if you got your shit together, you've got a big, proud, loud business email signature at the bottom. You've got, your name, you've got your logo on there, you've got your address, right? You've got a link to your website on there. Even we would go as far as obviously we'd put a little banner down there, right? Advertising something, whether it's something new, a new blog post, we'd change them up every month, right?
Yep.
And then we'd always have that little disclaimer underneath that, the little legal disclaimer. And man, people, you were business. You meant business if you had this disclaimer. That disclaimer changed over the years. Sometimes it was legit. It was please consider the environment before printing this out, right?
Yes.
Other times we would elaborate and be like, please consider the poor cute little bears that are suffering right now in northern Alaska because of this. And everybody knew it meant business because it said disclaimer at the bottom. They didn't actually read it. So we had a lot of fun with that, but that was more internal stuff, right? How we combated this.
That is hilarious.
But a good email signature, you need to own that space because those emails get passed around internally and it makes an impression.
Yeah. So you never ever did Moss at zfactor@gmail.com or
Yeah,
anything like that.
no, God. Oh, dude. No.
Oh,
And
really? Does that look
that's
unprofessional?
completely going another direction. Never, ever, ever on a person, your email has to be a company email. Yes. You have to splurge. Okay. And I'm so adamant. I get emails all the time from people that, Joe, Kizanyu at gmail.com or Golden Star SEO at gmail.com. And honestly, dude, I'm just delete.
Yep.
Delete.
Because
don't take them serious.
That's rinky dink.
It's beyond rinky dink.
Bush League.
Right? It really, though, it is, right? You need to elevate that impression. If you want to look like a company, you need to have a serious company email. You absolutely, right? Gmail makes it fucking easy. There's no excuse for anybody to have this shit. So either it's spam. And it's just all these email farms coming out of, some are out in the other side of the world, that are just like, farming out 1 million of these every hour.
Yep.
Right. And so they're just ranking up all these fake email addresses. Or B, it's somebody who looks like one of these companies.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be associated with
I don't want to be associated with either one. So it's always a legitimate. And I was so proud when we did that, right? Because that was so early on, but man, was it important.
How hard is that to do? Is that something?
Gmail makes it crazy easy to do. Yes. And even if you don't want to use Google for this, a lot of the email domain, where you buy your domain names, they'll offer an email service in the short term, right? Cool. But I would recommend buying your domain name wherever you want to buy it. I wouldn't recommend GoDaddy, but any of these other places, right? We use a handful, right? But I think now we're just buying straight from Amazon. But and then on Google it ports it. It talks you through how to do it. Yeah, I think the Google Suite is amazing. Personally, it's professional. Really it just makes life so much better, right? Yeah. So awesome. Always do that, right? When you're going through your email, right? When you're coming up with your email signature and stuff, your titles, okay? That's important. People are all about these, fun titles. And I'm going to be like, guru or graphic guru or, CSS ninja. And okay, that's fine, but it sizes you no matter which way you want. It just means that, you're not taking what you're doing serious and hey, make the argument however you want. Yeah. I used to do it too after the fact, right? But when I was trying to make myself look a little bit more bigger, a little bit more established, a little bit more professional, I wasn't pulling any of that shit, right? That is a sign of small startups. And it's fun, energy is good, but you don't see many Fortune 500 companies or giant, businesses, corporations following that. It's always a smaller shop, right? Yeah. How small? It's up to the person who's getting that email and seeing it and feeling it, right? But that whole startup stigma starts with shit like that.
Yeah, this is true.
At the same time, right? I never, ever put down owner.
Oh, okay.
Never did. I gave myself a title. creative director, VP, senior designer, right? But I never, ever, ever called myself an owner, because by doing an owner, right, and realizing here I was, right, I'm the answer to everything, right? I had to all of a sudden, I had to give them the final say because I was the owner. I didn't want that.
Yes.
I didn't want people to know I was the owner.
That's clever.
In fact, okay, it was great. So many times when they would find out I was the owner months later after we were in business together, they're like, wait, it's your company? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, that's good. And all of a sudden it was, it was one of those awesome, right? But I'd already surpassed that whole startup stigma stage, right? There was no stigma attached because I was delivering, right? And they were then proud to deal with the owner. But going into it, being that the owner usually does the bookkeeping, usually does the design work, usually does the obviously I just had accounting, the sales, the website. We're doing everything when we start, whether we're 1, 2, 5-person shop. So giving yourself that, it does size you, right? When it finally got to the point, like right now, my email signature says founder, creative director. Right? Or creative director / founder, right? And I'm allowed to keep that title, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
Because they're like, you were the founder.
You were the founder, and you're the creative guy.
Yeah, and you're the creative director. So nothing changes there, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Because I always wanted to be a creative. It was you who said that, right? You're like, well, didn't you say when you were a kid you wanted to be a creative director?
Yes, exactly.
Still am.
There you go. And a founder, too.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty impressive.
But, I mean, again, it was really important that people didn't think I was the owner initially, because then I always made it sound like I had other people to report back to, so I couldn't necessarily give them the answer they wanted on the spot. That either bought me time to find out what the right answer was, right? To find out how to get the job done, and then honestly, and it just took so much pressure off of that moment, because God knows, in the heat of passion, you do a lot of crazy stuff, right? And this is one of the situations where I was able to take it, and I was just like, hey, sorry, I have to go back. I got another.
I got to push this up the
exactly. So I didn't commit to something that in the end wasn't good for us.
Right.
So
it gives you a bit of a break. So you're like, okay, you can kind of after the call or whatever, you could sit back and think, okay, how am I going to make this work?
Right.
And then that's the way you could either say, no, we haven't got okay from this from the top.
Totally right.
You know what I mean?
Just,
like,
dude,
not even lying.
At the old garage.
Yeah.
Okay. There was this plank that we had, right? It was this piece of board. And it was like a 2x4 by something or another. And I drew this picture of an angry dude on it with his arms crossed. And I called it the board. And it was like, I would have to consult the board. I wasn't lying. And I would talk to this board. This was my go-to. And everybody in the office thought I was fucked, but it was my way of not lying. So I couldn't give him an answer.
The board.
I had to consult with the board. I'm not lying.
That's
True story, dude. True story.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Yeah, you're telling the truth. You have to talk. You have to discuss this with the board.
I don't lie. So those are some of the things I'm presenting myself.
Yes.
Right. Of course, looking professional, dressing for the part. Again, not that I would recommend the whole suit thing, but don't show up with ripped T-shirts, dirty T-shirts. Stained. Some of that stuff is just common business. I shouldn't have to tell you this. See past episodes and give yourself a slap in the head if you actually are going to do. While we will show up to customers in baseball caps and T-shirts and whatever, it's always clean.
Yes,
and it's
least.
respectful.
Yes. And
the jeans don't look like that. That I should have changed them like years ago.
Exactly. They're not stained with mustard and shit like that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's presenting myself.
Yeah.
Now, presenting the company. This is the biggest list. Okay, and this is. Everything else that I did thereafter was about presenting the company, okay?
Yeah.
Started, of course, with, finding a way to compete against the big companies. So first and foremost, and I profess this to everybody, I'm a big advocate for this, but I found a niche, right? And we stuck to that niche, right? We found a niche, we owned a niche, and right from the get-go, by saying, we are experts in this space, all of a sudden almost negated, any sort of ideas. Well, these guys can't be just a startup because they know this space. And I mean, I knew it because I worked in it, during the summers, I grew up in an environment that was all B2B related. So I had a whole bunch of understanding already on this space before I even had any customers in this space, right? So by niching, all of a sudden, it's like you elevate your street cred all in that space, whether it's food, whether it's B2B manufacturing, in our case, technology, whatever. So that's the first thing that we did, right?
Yeah.
Before anything else, we thought we had to get ahead of some of the bigger other agencies in town.
Yep.
We wanted to compete, and get those bigger jobs. We had to become a niche, find a niche, own that niche, and then and work with that, right?
And work in it. Yep.
Number 2, okay? The name.
The name.
The name of the company is so fucking important.
Yeah.
And I think this is, sometimes you see these quirky names because it'll be like freelancers thinking that they're cute and kitschy when they start, but then thereafter it's like, holy shit, now I've grown to 5 people and my name is Pink Twigs, or Frilly Surprises, or Yellow Hippo. And it's like, dude, it's pretty hard to grow a company with a name that immediately sizes you, right? And we recommend this to startups all the time, like be careful of the name you choose right out of the gate. Because again, that stigma will stick with you, right? And again, sure, companies like Amazon randomly now completely means something else than when you started. But for every one of these billion-dollar success stories, there's millions of failed attempts at doing this.
Is true. Yeah.
So again, I wasn't interested in these uphill battles.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the fuck to where I wanted to go and as fast as I could do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get a good name, a solid, powerful kind of name.
Is it perfect? Yeah. Well, in my opinion, of course, zfactor was perfect because it meant what we wanted. We had purpose behind that name. It had a cool story. We told everybody zfactor was, an abbreviation of zeal factor, and zeal meant fire, energy, enthusiasm that we had in our personalities that we put towards all of our jobs, and customers like that. And they're like, it was memorable. It was cool. And it didn't size us one way or the other. It definitely didn't look like a 1, 2, 3-man shop. No. And could it have been 100, 200, 300%? Yeah. As far as they were concerned, they could have been, right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
It sounds big.
It sounded big, bigger than what we were at the time, and we've grown into it even more, right?
Exactly.
So that's for sure. Now this worked for me, not necessarily for everybody else, but I incorporated zfactor early on. Obviously, for tax purposes, when you get to a certain point, you want to incorporate versus being a sole proprietorship. But there's something to be said about that little INC or the LLC when you hand that over. But again, there's some financial reasons why people should or shouldn't do this, right? So that's a different story. But one thing that I did do early on was I invested in an 800 number. Right? Because all of a sudden people are like, are they big? I don't know if they're big, but they have an 800 number.
1543. No, that doesn't work.
It's hard these days because our cell phones are such a primary, everybody's using their cell phone for business.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's showing a cell phone. It's a cell phone.
Exactly.
It's a 226 number or 519 number for our area or 905 for Toronto. Yeah. And you're just like, is that a cell phone? Is that a... It's not, right?
Yeah.
And right now you can get generic 800 toll-free numbers, global, cheap, online, virtually anywhere, and it'll port to your cell phone number. Yep. And it'll come to you between the hours of 9 to 5. After that, you got a voicemail to it, right? But it was for the time, it was a big investment, but man, did it pay off in the end, because it just only big companies had 800 numbers. And it's true, because so many times I'll pick up a business card and I'll be like, cool, design shop, and I'll see a 226 cell phone number. And I'm like, oh, dude, you just kind of blew it. So you're a freelancer, and you fooled me until I saw that number.
Until you see the number.
Then I knew.
That really kind of gives you away as the size of your company. 1-800,
right?
800 numbers are profesh. Yeah.
This one is, I've been so adamant, and I still teach this to our employees. I had this conversation with someone 2 weeks ago here, okay? Yeah. Always, 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 when referring to the company and the team, or just in general, getting something done, never, ever refer to yourself or I. Yeah. Never be like, I'll take care of this for you. I'll be sure to get this done. No. It's always we. It's never me, never I. It's always we, us. Yeah. Okay. This, right off the bat, okay, whether you already are a shop or not, when you're dealing with customers, you never ever want to say, I did that for you, or I did this, or sometimes, you're an account manager. Just by saying, I did that for you, or I was thinking this, or I was thinking that when we did that for you, well, it puts all the onus on you, meaning that if you fuck up, customer's going to be pissed off at you, okay? Because you're the one who's responsible for it, right? Where when you're saying we, it's a team effort, right? Whether it's you or not, right?
Yeah.
Even, again, unless you purposely want to be a freelancer, which is fine, and you want that personal relationship and let them know that you're doing everything for them, wins or falls, it's all on you. I don't want that kind of responsibility.
Nope.
But again, by referring it to always as we will take care of that. We were thinking this when we designed this. This is what we were thinking.
Yes.
And I'll take this back to the team and have this done. Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just the pressure on this is just huge. And again, because and again, when I was talking to one of our teams, Caitlin, that I guess she was talking to the customer, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about this," and it was like, customer was like, "Oh well, that was wrong." She had it was just kind of like
nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
Yes.
Right. Where it was like if it was and again it almost made her feel a little bit
just
like you're like, ooh, I let you down and I let the boss down and everything else.
Yes.
But by changing that mindset from an I to a we, number one, it makes it sound like there's a bigger picture. There's more people at play.
That's right.
Okay. Whether it's 1, 2, 3 people. Okay. If there's ever an error, right? Not saying that you're not taking, you're not owning up to it, but you're making them realize there was an error. It could have been anywhere along the chain. You can still trust me.
Yes.
I'm your contact, but this fell short somewhere in the command chain. We'll take care of it. No worries. And it just makes people feel, very comfortable that there's more than just one person, at this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's that was a huge one. And
that's good. Yeah.
From day one.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Because I remember when you told me that, I was just like, oh, that makes so much sense, because it gives you the freedom to kind of, the options to have help.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I've done this and I completed this job start to finish, but we are presenting it to you.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But
That's
it's like
absolutely right.
So if there's any kind of,
then they don't know if you're the account manager, if you're the hands-on graphics person to take care of this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, you have people that work underneath you, right? And you're not saying, oh, this is, Caitlin stuff, and oh, this is Max stuff, and this is PJ stuff. No.
Yeah.
You're like straight up, we did this, take a look. Let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And again, so it's super. To me, it's a huge game changer.
Yeah, big
right?
time.
Get used to saying we, not me or I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even when I'm on an email with just one person, and it's just me, I still refer to we.
I do too. I absolutely do. And I'm never like, let me know what you think.
Exactly.
It's always
It's like,
let us know
what
you think.
Yes. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Even if you're right. Even if it's just one-to-one.
I
do that
know.
too.
Which is crazy. I'm thinking, do they think I'm insane or?
Well, no, they just know that there's a team behind everything that's being made.
Yes, that's exactly.
And again, that's what customers look for, is that comfort.
Yes.
That they can rely, heaven forbid, if Sean is gone for a week, there's other people that will step in, right?
Exactly.
Whether it is only Sean in the shop, right? The reality is they just have that comfort factor.
They know. Yeah, exactly. That's the presentation that you're giving them.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, there's a bunch of people working on this project. This is good. This makes me happy.
Yes.
I'm feeling comfortable.
So true, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. Okay, so that was when I'm addressing the customer. Whenever the company, talks about itself, whether it's online, whether it's in a social media data sheet, a leave behind, a trade show, both, we always spoke about zfactor in the third person narrative, right? So even when we talk about zfactor, it's not like, our motto is that the customer comes first and we believe this. No.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, that all of a sudden sizes somebody, okay? Unknowingly, right? It's now bringing you down to talk about yourself personally. And it's like, well, somebody's responsible for that. Yeah, sure. Some people do it intentionally. Yeah. We always knew where we wanted to go. And it was always a bigger team. And we always considered like zfactor as that third person.
Right.
So it's like, the mission at zfactor was to incorporate blah, 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 blah. Right. And zfactor stands for this. Yes. It's not like we believe that. No.
It's like the entity, the actual company is
is
its own thing.
Absolutely, right? So
really
always
that's good.
Speak about your company in the third person. Sizes you right away.
Right.
Automatically, right? Makes people feel more confident. Like it just
That's good.
So here's another one that I'm sure everybody suffers at one point in time or another, right? I haven't always had a team. right? Sometimes we've been as small as 3 people. Okay. But we always needed more than 3 people to get shit done.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had vendors. I've had some of the same vendors now for almost 20 years that we can rely on, right? They're part of my team. They are part of my team. They are just as much a part of zfactor as, you or any of the team at the back, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So, I don't separate them. So when I talk about our vendors, I talk about my vendors as my team, my partners, So, and then again, that could be freelancers, photographers that we've used, right? When people ask, do you have a photographer on site? For many years, we didn't. I had a friend who was our photographer.
Yeah.
No. That friend was my photographer, part of my team.
Yeah.
Do you have a photographer on staff? Yeah.
Yes,
Because
of
a
course
part
I
of
do.
my team.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
If and there was the occasion people are like, wow, so these are employees of yours, right? Because then they were trying to catch you in something, and I was completely honest. I was like, you know what? I go, actual employees, we're a small number, but we have a bigger collective group of professionals that we deal with to keep our costs down. We can't make use of a full-time photographer, but we've been working with a photographer for years now, and they are part of our team. We work with a printer, who's been part of our team. We work with, a web programmer that has helped us execute all of our website projects.
Yes.
But in order to keep costs down and keep us nimble, we haven't brought that on because it's a big cost. And all of a sudden customers are like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
Smart.
But again, there's only like 1 or 2 times that people were trying to catch us
on
something. And you know what? I said that whole lie thing. I wouldn't lie anymore.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
It was just like, you never knew what you told one person and not another, right? It's just not a good thing.
But this is the thing. It's like sometimes it doesn't make sense to hire a full-time 3D
Absolutely.
artist.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
But you use that 3D artist 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
This is exactly
Yes.
it. This is the kind of thing. He's part of the team. It's like, I got a guy right off the bat.
Right.
So he's not full-time, but
Right.
he is, he's still working for
He's
you.
part. And again, there's no difference between that person that you can rely on when you need them to, that freelancer that you've used for years. I've known some other freelancers that have partnered up with programmers so that when the programmer needed graphics, they would go to this
they go
freelancer.
right to this.
Freelancer would go, they'd always team up,
Yeah.
but they never officially formed a company.
That's right.
So is that really any different than having employees?
Nope.
It's still part of the team. It's part of the bigger collective of we.
Yes.
And that's why we is an important thing.
Yes.
I can't stress that one enough.
Huge. That's brilliant.
Okay. So another big thing that we used to always do when we represented the company, we owned that LinkedIn company page. Okay. A lot of people will create a LinkedIn profile, but will neglect a company page. Okay. And honestly, I would get that company page up and I would always make it look like $1 million. I spoke about the company in a 3rd-person narrative. I would go and connect and encourage everybody, follow us. So when they see, zfactor and had all these followers, it was just like, whoa, they're big time, right?
They're huge.
Again, I would post more under zfactor at the early days than I would under myself. So, and again,
awesome.
it was important, right? Because again, I was trying to build this image of this company so that people could rely on the company and trust in what the company was doing. And I mean, LinkedIn was critical for this.
Yeah.
So again, have a good write-up on LinkedIn. Make sure you have a company profile on LinkedIn and anywhere else you can, on Google, any opportunity online where you can actually put that business and make it look credible. Do it. That was huge for us.
That makes sense, because if you're going to have your own face and then your company underneath,
right underneath it.
Boy, that really limits.
And you click and there's no company in, and then where's this company exist, right? A company called Blue Hippo.
Yeah, exactly.
Blue Hippo Designs. Oh, dude.
And your picture there.
Yeah, and your picture beside
geez.
it. No, couldn't do that.
That's going to size you right there.
Another big thing. So we're talking about LinkedIn, right? And then we're talking about web. And we're talking about email, right? Yeah. We're talking about all these points of contact, right? One thing that I was so vigilant about is I made sure the message was the same everywhere. Right. What you read on our website is what LinkedIn said. Yeah. And it was what you would see in the bottom of my email signature, right? Everywhere where there was on social, it was always the same. It's like it was our tagline. Right now it's like, be more human, look more global, right? Like again, it existed everywhere consistent. So the same message, right? Because again, that sizes a company. And we deal with this with startups all the time. They have different messages across the board. And what happens is they can't get out of startup stigma because, their sales reps are saying one thing, their company's website says another thing. Their LinkedIn profile says something else. Like it's so many different messages that their brand is just falling apart.
Yes.
No, I was so sure that everything, like even how we would present our presentations, right? If we were preaching this whole, look more global or be more human, look more global, we would have it in our presentations and we'd remind them. And they're like, oh yeah, that's the thing they said on the website. You're like, you're fucking right. It was the thing I said on the website. Seriously, you have to promote that message, and that you should be doing whether you're a freelancer or not. You need to have some sort of vision. You need to stand for something. Yeah. Right? Because what? He stands for everything stands for nothing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you can't pull that shit,
good.
dude. Yeah, you can't pull that shit. So again, everything, any chance you get, even if you're going to do those big ass business cards, make sure that message is the same on those as it is on everything else.
Right. Don't print green if your color is red.
Right. Exactly. Right. Only because green is cool now. No. When I would present my portfolio, speaking about keeping things consistent, right? Messages consistent. Of course, the portfolio, always an introduction, about, what was and reiterated. But I would hand pick the items in the portfolio and only show them the items based on the clients I wanted to get in the future, right? Nice. I knew I wanted to, to have these $1 billion customers, and I would only have $500 million customers on the site or $750 million customers on the site, right? Yeah. I wouldn't show all the cool local stuff I did because it doesn't fucking matter to them, right? I wouldn't be like, oh, I created a local, an awesome logo for a pub, and it's like, dude. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not what I'm looking for, right?
Goal,
You need to know. And again, this helped with being in a niche, right? We knew where we wanted, we knew the customers we wanted, and we only showed portfolio items based on that. And there was a point that I only had 3 portfolio items, right? Because I wanted these big companies, and and we only had 3, right? Like we had, this is, like we had BlackBerry. Yeah. How do you get to TELUS? Well, it's like we only have BlackBerry right now, right? Yeah. But we had 3 items. Yeah. And man, did we talk up the story behind those 3 items, right? And that's what it was. We almost made the presentation more like a case study. And it was just like, these are the efforts we went through. This is the outcome that they had. This is why they kept on coming back. And this is now led into this next. And it was enough to be like, you're the people that we want to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
So handpicking your portfolio items, huge. Because then again, you're handpicking the stuff to make you look bigger than you actually are.
Some big client like TELUS is going to look at your bar logo and the logo you did for the pub. They're going to be like, this guy looks kind of, not
cute, but not what we're looking for.
You're right, exactly. Yeah, tailor it to the actual company that you're pitching. That's good. Yeah.
When I was in meetings, right, I would also talk large about the team. Always. Sean, you may have been my only person in the back of the room, but I would refer to my senior designer at the office is fucking amazing. And the account manager who'll be handling you is amazing.
He's incredible too.
Same guy.
Same dude.
But again, I would talk it up, right? I would constantly make the team look 10 times bigger. Yeah. And, even to this day, in some ways we still do. Yeah. Because everybody has more than one role, right? We'll have designers here that will also manage an account just because they work on it so much, it makes sense, right? But again, all of a sudden that one person becomes 2 people. Yeah. And this is, I would always talk it up. I wasn't bad. I wasn't lying, right? But it was, the team was, I'd always talk up that team like it was the biggest, best fucking team. And again, my senior designer, my senior programmer was really my only designer and my only programmer.
But hey, everybody thinks it's fucking Mad Men, right?
It's true, dude. We did it. The shit was real.
Yes.
This one I know a lot of people disagree with, and a lot of people have different reasons. No, and that's okay. This is me personally. I never did this, but I never ever put pictures of myself or the team online. And I know some companies want to do that, and they want to do that for reasons like they want people to know that they're human and this and that. And I mean, if anybody could be, the human aspect, that would be us. Totally. I mean, that's, we speak human is our freaking company motto. Yeah. But you know what? It sizes you, because again, number one, it's like you're putting your whole team on there, right? And they'll see that there's only 5 of you. Yeah. And if that's what you want, that's awesome. That's amazing. You want that personal connection. That's great. Yeah. But I always knew that, we were shooting forward, and I didn't want people to think that, 5 people, too small to handle what we need. The reality is our 5, we're capable of doing, 4 times what we were.
It's misleading. Yeah.
It is misleading.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I appreciate that, the personal connection, and I remember having, some polite disagreements with certain staff members in the past over this because they thought it would be a great way to, communicate, but it wasn't and it had nothing to do with, not wanting people to know how big we actually were. But in fact, it was so people wouldn't judge us just based on our size.
It's just these guys.
Yes.
Oh.
And that's exactly it. I mean, with that team, we had great clients, but we had better clients with a bigger team.
With a bigger team.
And I didn't want anybody to undersell us.
But to me,
Or
again,
undersell the size of the...
this designer, was this the egomaniac designer?
Yeah, it was.
So do you think there's an element to that?
I
It's
never
like-
thought about that.
But I wonder because one of the other design agencies that we deal with every once in a while, their pictures are all up there too, and we know that the leader of this, he's got a bit of an ego.
He's
on him.
loving himself,
But
right?
this is
And
what
he's
I'm
at the
wondering.
top of that hierarchy too. Interesting.
I just wonder if it's just kind of a self-serving thing, like look at us, this is who we are, kind of thing. Whereas you were like, it doesn't fucking matter what we look like or who we are or how
Right.
many people there are.
Right.
What's the work look like?
What's
you know
the
what I
work
mean?
always?
Yeah.
What does the
This
work
is-
look like?
this
right?
is the kind of
and I
thing.
would always tell it because it's not what we've done for other people; it's what we can do for
It's
you.
what we're doing for
Right?
you.
That was the
Exactly.
big sales pitch. But no, you're right. I never thought about that.
I just wonder. I mean, I don't know whether that's a thing, but it just seems like it's irrelevant to me.
In her case,
You see,
Yeah,
exactly, right?
And you're right because now I'm thinking certain people like their pictures, for more. You're right. Like, I never thought about that, Sean.
To me, that's
Interesting.
I don't know. It's like you and I.
pricks.
You and I. If you if you look at our fucking LinkedIn pictures,
Yeah, right.
we don't care. It's like from 10 years ago or whatever,
Oh,
right?
you know
Like,
what? A really sad thing happened today.
what happened?
I updated my LinkedIn, my nice, fresh-faced, full head of hair, LinkedIn picture with what you see now.
Oh no!
The hat, the beard,
You did?
all moody. I
Now
did.
You're gonna make me
and
do
it was
that now.
well, because I think it was a time. Was it the talk we had internally? Where he's like, "Mas, it's not really you anymore," and it's true. I
think that was me. I feel bad for bringing that up. It was
asshole.
I was looking at that and I'm thinking, God, I remember that guy.
He's so
He was
handsome.
so young and handsome back then. We were both like that.
I just, yeah, I know.
Oh, shit. Good
So
for
now
you.
it's this.
Okay.
No, you're 100% right.
But here, I'm the same way. Mine is like from like 12 years ago.
Oh, well, we got a good angry
so-
designer picture to add there for you, buddy.
Done. I'll update it.
Another thing, one of the last things I would do, and when we're talking about the business, of course, right?
Yeah.
Name drop my clients, the good clients, okay? Not ridiculously, right? But it's like if I was pitching TELUS and, we did work with BlackBerry, we would make sure that they knew we did work with BlackBerry and we did good work with BlackBerry and we're still working with BlackBerry, right? We would name drop our clients. We would name drop, people in the industry, right? Just to show that, hey, we know the space, we know the niche, right? We would name drop events, okay? And, topics of the event, because all of a sudden it makes it look like, holy shit, it's not one person.
That's
It's
right.
It's a whole bunch of people and they're everywhere. They're at
all
this
over the
event.
place.
They're at with this customer. They know these people, and it's just even at the point where it's just like, oh, did you know so-and-so? And it's just like, yeah, they left and they went to another I would follow that.
Yeah.
Didn't deal with them, but I knew that they jumped,
that they-
right?
yeah.
And again, I didn't say, oh yeah, we hung out all the time. It's just like, yeah, they're not there anymore. They're another company.
Yeah.
Again, the credibility went through the roof.
Yeah. It's
and
like
all of a
somebody's
sudden,
paying attention, doing their homework. Yeah.
yes, and that's exactly it, right? Being in the know made a huge difference.
Yes.
So it just meant that the company was constantly moving. It was progressing, and people like that again because they're not looking for the best company. They just want to make sure that they're making the most confident decision in who it is that can deliver.
Exactly.
Right?
And if you're paying attention, it's like an interview,
Yep.
right? Like
Yep.
if you didn't do your homework. I don't know anything about this. You know what I mean? That doesn't make you look good, but you're like, oh, hey, shit, yeah, dude, he went to such and such.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yes, yeah.
So that's totally makes sense. Do your homework. Do your research.
Yep, absolutely,
Right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have to point out that I felt kind of funny that I used to do is, when we first started, we were in like not a great location. We were kind of in a shady location on top of an oil shop.
yes, I remember that.
And those fumes really aided our creativity at the early ages. But the one thing, that was a little different was, anytime a customer be like, okay, yeah, do you want me to come by your office?
Oh, yes.
And although it was cool, It was not a great location. It was just affordable. And I would always do the, no. You're the customer.
Yeah.
Let me come to you.
Yes.
We always want to service you right. I'm going to come to you. Don't worry. I'll make a point. I'll visit other people in the area. I need to get out and stretch my legs.
Yeah.
And they appreciated that shit over and over and over, right?
See, that's two birds getting stoned at once, right? Because
right.
you're saying, look, you're important. I'm coming to you. Don't you worry about coming to me, right?
Yep,
and then
totally.
you hide your numbers.
And then you hide the numbers behind. It's so true, dude. It's so true. Another thing that we would do when we would come to invoicing.
Yeah.
Okay. So always, I made sure that, the invoices looked professional. Okay. So none of this bullshit about, putting your invoices in Word or Illustrator. I know that's something that you can do early on and it's convenient, right? But there is no reason to do that when there's amazing apps out there that do it for free, right? Again, we still use Wave apps. Okay.
Wave.
I will recommend it to everybody, and we're not plugging by it, but again, it made such a difference. We've been using this software now for like 8 years, right? And it's online. Yeah. It's free for, up to so many users and this and that, which is, we still haven't even like gone past their users, right? But the thing is, it's professional.
Yeah.
Okay. The templates look like they should. It guides you. It does your taxes. Like it adds your tax for you, right?
Nice.
Emails them a copy. PDFs, offers a PDF version for their download, right? And they make money by they collect on the credit card payments. So then you can offer credit card payments. Okay, it costs you like 3% every time, but you just build that in.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to use any other system other than something like this. Yeah, if you want to do QuickBooks or Simply Account, something bigger, fine. I could never do anything like that.
Yeah.
But for the first kabillion years when I was doing my own bookkeeping, right, using Wave apps made my life so fucking easy, honestly, right?
Nice.
And it helped with everything. So again, it was so professional. It was all again, it was a huge jump for us when we went to that, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people took it seriously. When it was time to collect, you could just nudge them, and it's like, hey, you're overdue.
Whoa, shit.
All of a sudden, you see payment come through in 5 minutes, right? So that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And okay, this felt like the only shady thing, I guess, maybe. we didn't start at invoice number 1. Because we never wanted to be like, oh, look, they're at invoice number 33.
Yeah.
How cute,
Yeah.
right? No. I think we changed the invoice number and made our first invoice number like 560 something. So they're like, oh, wow, they've been around for a little while. We're 561 invoice number, right? So that was another thing. We changed the invoice number.
Is that lying, or is that like Ben Kenobi telling?
I think that's Ben Kenobi.
Luke Skywalker, his father was killed by Darth Vader.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fib, but I mean,
it's a little
that
bit,
makes
right?
sense.
Hey, here's the thing. It wasn't a fib because nobody ever asked me.
Exactly.
So I didn't have to actually.
Where's the first 500?
Where's the first 500? I don't know. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's bad.
That was felt a little underhanded.
Yeah.
But again, the reality, when you start, you do everything possible to build yourself up to be something that you're not, right? And again, this is where that whole fake it till you make it idea, right? And these things, just a list. I'm sure there was more things than this, but these are just the ones that I just, for this podcast, I thought, hey, you know what? This is what I had to do. And I did a lot of this shit, especially for the first 10, 15, not 15, but the first 10 years for sure.
Yep.
Right. Until we were, good and comfortably grounded in our space.
Yeah.
Ultimately, dude, I was trying to build a brand that was bigger than me.
Yes.
Okay. And that was how we got to this point. I didn't want it to be about Massimo Zeffirino.
Yeah.
Right. I never did. And everybody, even when they were like, oh, so you're the owner. I'm like, well, there's a team.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, there's a team. Even this company is not about me. And none of us, I couldn't have got here without an amazing team.
This is true.
And this is all about building a bigger brand. Right. And that's what this is about. That's the number one way to make yourself look bigger than you are. Even if you're a one-person company, right? You need to stand for something.
Yeah.
You need to be focused on building that brand, not building yourself. If you want to build yourself, go fucking offer a course somewhere, right? Like seriously, if you want to build a company, you've got to build the brand of the company and have it stand for something, whether it's a niche, whether it's a learning system, whether it's some sort of philosophy that guides you or skateboard tenets on the wall, right? It needs to be, like people worry about little things like, their logo, but it's like, fuck, dude, like worry about your brand promise.
Exactly.
and live and breathe that.
Yes.
And then as you get a second employee, a third, make sure they're living and breathing that same fucking promise.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's ultimately what I think, led us to this point. This, and I mean, there'll be future podcast episodes about like some of the sticky things we did to make ourselves indispensable to companies,
Yep.
and, the benefit of niching, and being a specialist versus a generalist. I think that's ultimately, one of the biggest things that led to this. But,
Totally.
this is the shit that helped me get over the startup stigma
Yep.
that, companies would always give when you're like 2, 3, 4, 5 people, right? This worked for me. I hope even one or two of the little of these things can work for somebody,
these are all gold. This is
Funny,
all gold,
right?
man.
Yeah.
I love this stuff.
Because
Yeah.
now, after the fact, people look back and laugh, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing that." Now it's legit, but
Yeah.
you had to do what you had to do, and
Exactly.
legitimately, right?
And I just love the thick business cards. I mean, that's just, I'm serious. Like, that's just one
Still
of those,
have them.
one of those tiny little details
Yeah.
that you're awesome at
Yep.
thinking about. You know what I mean?
It's
just
crazy,
like,
dude.
that sets you apart so much.
Right?
Because you're right. Everybody has the flimsy piece of shit.
yeah.
And it's all the same thing because that's the best deal that you get. Spend a little money, you get a little money.
And that's 100% true, right? Honestly,
yeah,
these things
exactly.
are badass. Cool, man. This fly. has-
I
leave
know.
us alone, right?
If you're wondering why we're doing
Waving
all this
around the-
all the time, it's not because we
There's
got.
this fly that
Yeah.
won't leave us alone. It keeps jumping from Sean and I. It's a fan. It's a fly. There's been one or two. There's like, if I could only be a fly in the wall. Well, there they are.
Here we are. Yeah, exactly.
Creepy. I'm just kidding. You guys want to come hang out in the studio here while we do
Totally.
this? Sure.
Yeah,
I
it would be
guess.
fun. We'd have everybody over.
Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fun to do.
Can you? Oh, I don't know whether I could do a live podcast.
No, but maybe
Jeez,
Q&A
I'd be
or
nervous.
something.
Yeah, that would
That'd
be
be
good.
kind of fun, right? Yeah, that'd be
Totally.
kind of a good time. All right, cool.
Yes.
So yeah, cool shit, and hopefully for the next few weeks we'll drop some more, pieces of advice, this, that, but we don't want to make it too much about business because this is a design podcast
Yeah.
for graphic designers. But today was how graphic design, teams, companies, or even individuals can size themselves and overcome this, startup stigma.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be like that meme with the guy who he's cloned like 5 times.
Yeah,
and
right.
He's the team.
Yeah, well, that does feel like the reality sometimes,
Exactly.
right? It really does feel that
totally
way.
does, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well,
Yeah.
let's, by all means, if you like what you heard today, give us a thumbs up. Please leave us a review. Make sure you do it. Don't just say you will. Do it. Share us with anybody that you love or hate, of course. And please, by all means, stop by our Instagram. Drop us a note, participate. We got great conversations going over there. And sometimes I'm delayed, but, we will get back to messages, whether they're messages or comments, where even at the very least, if it's just a high 5-5, that we got you and we appreciate it and we love you. Honestly, FYI, this acquisition, I made sure that, if this acquisition was going to happen, one of the first things I said was, you can have the business, but you can't have the podcast. And I said, it's the complete deal is off the
hinging
and they're
on
probably
that.
thinking like, you're fucked.
Yes.
Do you know what you're doing? But the reality is I need this podcast.
Yes.
Because, this feels like I'm giving back.
Yeah.
We're giving back
Yeah, totally.
to our awesome peeps.
Yeah. This is the thing too. It's like what we just listed here, your lists of making yourself bigger. You have a vision.
Yes.
And when you have a vision,
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to hang along because it's like, okay, I know this guy, he's going to do it.
We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Well, you know what?
I'm tagging along with this.
None of this shit was around when,
This is true.
And it wasn't. And that's
this
where it's
is-
like, I just, there's so much shit online that goes on about how easy it is to charge $250,000 for a logo. That's not fucking easy.
No.
You know how hard that is? Like
Yeah.
we're
Good
not
luck.
talking, we're dealing with billion-dollar brands and there's no way I could charge $250,000 for something like that. Not me.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
Martha sure
Yeah.
can,
Chris
right?
Doe, maybe.
Chris
He
Doe,
can
maybe.
get away
Or
with that.
these guys could make a shitload of Washington, you know, or
Yeah.
Beirut, but
Or
you know,
Beirut, yeah.
that's the elite.
Yes.
You know, we're like the designers.
We're the common man.
For the rest
The
of them.
person. I
Right,
should
right,
say.
yeah, the common peeps.
Common people.
No, and that's the truth. And
Yeah.
I think that's who, you know, I want to keep it real.
Yeah,
you know,
keeping
and
it real.
by telling you that you can, you know, get $250,000 for a logo, that's not keeping it real. That's fucking
that's not.
lofty,
That's
man.
that's wanking.
But
This
you know
is
what?
gonna-
If we can get people to our level, you know, when you are charging good coin for good logos and getting repeat business, dude, this has been the best ride.
or getting purchased.
Acquired, right?
Acquired.
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, no,
Purchase
no.
was a terrible word.
No, that's
yeah,
okay.
acquired. Yes, like
That's-
stuff like that. You were positioned everything to this moment,
Yeah.
and it paid off.
Yeah,
right?
it's kinda
This
crazy.
is what everybody in Silicon Valley wants a startup
Yeah,
that they can
yeah.
sell to Google,
That they can sell
or
to somebody
Amazon,
else,
something
right?
Like that, right?
Yeah, that's kinda fun.
Yeah. So
Well, anyway, we're here for everybody. And again,
This is true.
Wasn't even an option, wouldn't even considered it, but we kept the podcast and they're obviously cool with it because they said the podcast is nothing to do with their business. This
Yep.
has to do with us and graphic designers.
Yes.
So we're here to help everybody survive and thrive.
yeah,
Right? Really?
right.
That's the goal.
This is
man.
true. This is
All
true.
right. Well, here, let's
I
end
love
on a
it.
cheers, buddy.
Okay, let's end on
This
a
is
cheers.
cool.
I like that.
Cheers,
we both
buddy.
we both have booze.
Yeah, yeah, right. That very, with that said, everybody, I love you
left. I do too.
and stay creative.
Stay angry.
Peace.